Good evening. Good evening. Go to my bio. Check out the link there. It'll take you to my link tree, which will get you my webpage. But also on my link tree, you can see where the petition is. But this is I want to just really get right into education time. As governor, as a candidate for governor of Florida, I love to make sure that you're fully informed because while there are candidates who talk about a lot of things, I like to know where we're going and who's going to be there to kind of guide us there, which is why I wanted to give direct democracy to citizens, give citizens a lot more power to control elected officials as we socially and economically force shape. So there's a power grab. There's a power shift that's happening. And it's not just in the judicial system, it's in the government system. But it's being done like that from my studies, from my research. It's being done like that on purpose. 1971, America came off the gold standard. This meant that we no longer traded gold for something actual, i.e., or for example, a citizen would say, I want to buy a car. Okay, you have to show up with the weight in gold for how much someone says the car is going to be, whether it's 35 cent to the ounce. So what did we do? We said, okay, we're going to use what they call the fiat system. That's what we're on right now, the fiat system. It's where we decided to make up money and the government just decided to give it a value. This meant that money no longer had a physical backing. It was just created now. We're going to create the dollar, and by decree, a dollar is worth this much, i.e., 100 pennies is a dollar. You get it, 10 dimes is a dollar. So we decided to make these things. This is important because this is why you see that gold is worth more than a dollar and silver is worth more than a dollar, because these are the type of minerals that cannot be reproduced. So there would have been a point where we would have had more people who needed to have gold and silver in their hands to actually barter or use money. That's why we had to go to a different system. Now, was the fiat system the best system to go to? Time is telling that it was not. Time is showing us that, whoa, this was gonna have its problems. Now, something that you gotta think, something that I want you to understand that is very interesting. The idea to go to the fiat system was done in the 1970s, right? And it was a unilateral decision. It didn't go to a vote to the people. It was just the president at the time got with some economists and said, boom, here you go. We need to change it up. And there it was changed. There you have it. Now we're in the fiat system. And I'm just going to explain just some small things about the dependency cycle of the fiat system. Because you got to understand, money it's just made up. We're just saying that it's worth this much. And at some point, they had to be very arrogant to say, we can control this. But at the time, maybe at the time, they didn't have the technology. Maybe, I'm just guessing, that they didn't have the technology to think about that people were going to continue to, give birth and come up with new ideas. So let me tell you about the idea of the dependency cycle. All right, banks need borrowers to generate profit. So banks needed to, how do we get the fiat system out here? We needed to create loans. So we said, okay, banks, we've made all of these paper monies. Go out there and tell people that now you need a loan in order to get the dollars to pay for this, and then you got to pay us back. Governments need banks to create money through the loans. Citizens need loans to participate in the economy. The entire system requires a perpetual debt expansion to maintain its stability. So you keep hearing, or we all keep saying that, hey, we're $36 trillion and it's just going to get bigger and it's going to get bigger. And you got to understand that right now, the world, there's so many nations on the fiat system created dollars, created paper money that was backed by nothing. So many people that it is estimated that we are $300 trillion in debt worldwide. Fiat in Latin just simply means let it be done. These guys made it up and went with it and created a structure that we are trying to live by today. So I hope you understand it, that right now, the reason the government's looking at money differently because they know they can print it. But in order to keep that going, you need banks to issue loans. The government needs banks to issue loans. Now, where am I going with all of this? Why am I trying to say that citizens need to have some control over legislative officials? It's because the decisions that were made in that back room to just change our currency system, maybe if we weighed in with all of the smart minds that we have, we could have maybe come up with something better instead of leaving it to a small group. Even though we have been functioning, it's taking its course because we're hitting a new era in technology. Now things are changing. We're about to transition, or we are seeing the transition. And it's AI. Because AI is saying, I can do everything within this infrastructure without the need of human flesh. I don't need to be human in order to do this. I don't need to get paid in order to do this. I don't need to take out a loan in order to do this. Someone in the government right now is really contemplating the collapse of the fiat currency system, and not just here, everywhere. We always hear about all the jobs that are created, but we never hear about the ones that aren't, about the ones where people got fired. We just don't hear about it nationally enough. You actually have to go look this stuff up. But there are a ton of jobs that are just going away. There is some 60%, if you are in what they call a very high technological part of the world, 60% of your jobs by 2030 will be able to be done by AI. Does that mean that they're going to fire every single person and just let AI do it? Maybe that's the case, because there is a small group of people that are looking at themselves and saying, it's going to be us that has to figure this out, instead of letting all of us weigh in on if we can come up with an idea to make this work. That's why I'm talking about bringing more citizens to the table for progressive thinking. We don't have to let a few people destroy us because we didn't learn enough. As your governor, I want to teach you what happened, how we got here, and where the future's going. The future is going towards technology. There's no slowing that down, and there is no stopping it. It's already here. Automation is making life easier. The more it makes it easier, the more people that are not needed to be here. So what do we do with the citizens? What do we do with the citizens? There may be some very perverse mindsets out there. Let's see if we can link them to technology by way of biology. No, I don't want to be linked to technology by way of biology. Why can't we just let the technology do what it does and then take care of each other? Because at our core, for some reason, we dislike being on equal footing. We just dislike it. Guys, we're at a transition. And if we don't become a part of the transition, if we don't take a huge step as citizens into the transition, be brought in and given information and given ideas and made part of the think tank so that we can figure this out together. Like, it's so important. Please put away whatever biases you have, whatever prejudices you have, because right now we're evolving right in front of our own eyes. We're evolving again. We knew. Let me look over my notes, because this is, it's really important to know. Nixon was the president that had the backdoor conversation at Camp David. The transition from the gold standard to our current fiat system occurred through a unilateral decision made during a secret 3-day meeting at Camp David, August 1971. President Richard Nixon announced that the United States would no longer convert dollars to gold at a fixed value of 35 per ounce, effectively ending the Bretton Woods system that had governed the global economy since 1944. So it's so important to understand that we found out that there's always a backdoor conversation. There's always gonna be. But the part is, it's no matter what happens in the backdoor conversation, can we get citizens in a place where they must be talked to? That's what I'm trying to do. That's why legislative authority is so important. It is getting citizens into a place where they must be given the ability and authority to weigh in. If we're going to say that the change needs to happen and you giving me the who, what, when, where, why, and how, I just need to make a decision based on the data that's been given. This is not the time necessarily to be saying, I didn't learn about the fiat currency system when I was in school. That's the type of stuff. That's why education is important. Beyond the point, it is important. We know it's important. If you didn't get it, you're getting it now, and you can go look it up. But what you need to get more than everything else is, hey, there are a lot of things that you can learn later, but you need to have an avenue to apply right now. You need to be able to apply right now. On the job training. Yes, it's gonna be a lot of on the job training. Hey, I get to vote on this piece of legislation to decide whether or not I want to give up $19.47. Because remember, if you didn't catch my last video when I was talking about how much it costs for the Alcatraz that's in Florida, it was $450 million a year. That was $19.47 annually per taxpayer. $19.47. I'm giving you the ability to weigh in on how you want your money to be used, how we're going to bring us through this age of technology. Why so many citizens that are continuing to be educated are doing it almost, from what we're looking like, in vain. It is not smart to go towards or push our young people towards an education that you're actively working to give to AI, knowing that you have thousands of students going in this path that AI is already doing. That's doing them a disservice. That's doing them a disservice. And let's be realistic. If we're gonna be logical about it, you're stealing. You're stealing because you know that you've taken money. You've taken their hard-earned money. You've put them in a debt for a dead-end job. You knew that you were doing it. And that's where we are today. There are people that know exactly what they're doing. And they do not have to answer to citizens because citizens only vote in representatives. And today, I want that to end. And I need you to help me end it by going to my website or going to my link tree that's in my bio. That's in all my bios. It's in my description on YouTube. It's in my bio. Go into that link tree, download that petition, taking it to your supervisors of elections office. Sometimes I can't speak really fast. And then letting me know that you did it. Citizens, we have got to be a part of this. We cannot always learn everything in the history books when it's too late. We need to be asked, we need to see the information, and we need to be given the time to make an educated vote on what we want to do. This is important. This is a global problem. It's not just an American problem either, but right now I'm running for governor of Florida in the United States of America. But this is a global problem. This is a global issue. And it is one that will impact us all. And what are they trying to say right now? Hey, you need to be learning AI. To what extent? To what extent? There's a lot. It is a lot. And I'd be remiss, I'd be wrong if I knew this. Even if I wasn't running for governor, I just knew the information, which is why so many people are sounding the alarm. If you have a viable job right now, is it only a matter of time? Even the CEO, one CEO I saw, he got on there and they were like, well, hey, what about your job? He was like, well, maybe mine do. Everybody in the comments like, he's definitely lying. Why would a CEO give up his position unless he came up with a means of still benefiting from not having to sit that slot. That's literally where we all need. If technology is going to replace the person, then let it do it in a meaningful way. Let it make us all comfortable. But there's this problem because we convinced a whole lot of people that inclusion is wrong. So we've created division because if you don't include, this simply means you stay divided. So when you guys look at DEI, the dreaded DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, when you look at the dreaded DEI and you say, we don't want that, you are telling the individuals secretly meeting exactly how they can treat you. Because at some point, if 60% of the jobs will be available for AI to take by 2030, and we just keep making things better and better and better, that means that the timeline may get closer and closer. Instead of being 2030, maybe it's going to be 2028. It's who knows? We just keep getting better. If that's the case, and now AI is saying, hey, I can make my own system better. It's making itself smarter. And they are pushing for it to almost be sentient, to almost perform as if it's a person, to think as if it's a person, to take in all of your data and then use it. AI, like some people say, it's a mirror image of what you are. The responses, they're a mirror image of all the data collected from you. If that's going to be the case, then make it work for us. We have to be able to weigh in on that. So I didn't want to make this too long, but it's super important to me. And I just want you guys to know that we went from the gold standard to the fiat standard, and we're headed somewhere next. And before I go, they had some names for what this might already look like, because I had to go look. And okay, so we are now entering what could be called the post-industrial economy, or the intelligence age, a fundamental transformation driven by artificial intelligence and automation that is reshaping the relationship between human labor, capital, and economic value. And they got some. It's crazy. It's wild. So there you have it. Definitely take the information in. I hope that I have given you something to think about and look into. Your future matters. It just doesn't matter to me. It matters. Your future, the future of mankind, and how we're going to go into it, it matters. So let's go into it with some authority for citizens. You guys have a great evening. Thank you.